Before I move to Anna, just want to invite everyone to center ourselves for a time of worship. And I agree with Emilio Omicron, that there might be some glitches today as we're shifted midweek to get back onto a Zoom service. But we did this as a way of taking care of our congregation, taking care of each other, and making sure that we were doing what was responsible and safe. Today kicks off 30 Days of Love, a celebration that begins each year on the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. So it's a celebration of his life and a commitment to all that he poured his 39 years of living into and his legacy into the work of love and the work of justice, the work of making our society better and thinking about ways that we can show love. So honestly, as we talked about this as a community, one of our folks said this is actually an act of love as a congregation to move to a place of being safe and making sure that all of our members, even if it's inconvenient for some, that all of our members and friends stay safe during this time of surge. So we welcome you back to a virtual service, celebration of 30 Days of Love. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Anna for the prelude.
Our prelude this morning is In the Distance, composed and performed by our own Rod Brown. Rod says about this piece, this composition first came to me on the 8th of June, 2020. We were all just getting used to the isolation that COVID brought into our lives. Looking back, I remember that we, our UUCC board, decided that rather than meet in person, we should start having Zoom services. That was back on March 15th, 2020. And that was when I started creating compositions reflecting the mood of isolation and solitude. And yet also, hopefully, conveying a sense of connection in the shared experience of uncertainty, fear of the unknown, and a mindfulness of how important we are to one another. This is Rod's In the Distance.
And now you can read along and join me in reading the commitment of this congregation, but please make sure you're on mute when you do so, otherwise it gets noisy. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, thus do we covenant with one another. All right, thank you. And my name is Emilio Perez. Most of you know me. I've been a member of this congregation for some years now, and I'm the service leader today, and I wanna welcome you to our service, which is back to be virtual again in Zooms. So for the safety of everyone. We are the UUCC. We're proud to be a part of a diverse and non-creedal religion. As a covenantal religion, we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, dignity, compassion, and equity. Our community is based in deeds, not creeds. And upon the, we would like, okay, let me read along. As a welcoming UU congregation, we side with love, committing to embracing and promoting the worth and dignity of all people. We like to welcome visitors to our service. If you would like, through Zoom, you can unmute your audio and introduce yourself and tell us where you are from. So and I think we can do this, Phil, if I'm correct. So if you're a visitor or new to the congregation and you want to say a few words, I'm going to pause for a moment, and please unmute yourself and introduce yourself. All right, I don't hear anybody, so I'll go. Upon completion of the service, we will remain online to allow our members and friends to engage in some social time. There's some breakout rooms that we arrange after the service, and I think you'll be directed to those breakout rooms after the service. We have a chalice that we light every service, and I'm gonna bring it up here so people can see it. We're going to light this chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Its base represents our history and living tradition. The bowl includes all truth seekers and justice makers, and the flame provides the transformative power of love, a spirit of light and life come unto us. This chalice is especially meaningful to us because they give it to our kids when they graduated from the high school in the church. And I think I now will be yielding to Reverend Robinson for the opening words.
Thank you, Emilio. We really appreciate you leading us in so many different ways in our congregation, and for leading our service today and getting us started. And we continue the themes of love and nonviolence, especially following up from last week as we talked about the work of nonviolence and how much of a commitment that we need to make to that. So perfect lead in to these 30 days of love and celebrating the life and the work of Dr. King. So I share some of his words for our opening words today. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend.
Our opening music is We Shall Overcome, a violin prayer performed by Dr. Chelsea Green. Dr. Green is a violinist, violist, and vocalist, and she is associate professor in the string department at the Berklee College of Music. She and her ensemble, the Green Project, tear down stereotypes of the violin and viola by fusing traditional classical technique with popular favorites and enticing original solos in various genres.
Thank you, Anna. That was beautiful. This time we move to a portion of our service of Candles community that we do virtually on this Zoom call. So if you have a candle that you would like to share, particularly as we're for the next few weeks going to be doing virtual services, please email Andrea or you can email me and we'll make sure that the candle gets read during this time of the service and gives us an opportunity as a community to know what's going on and connect with each other. The candles that we have today, Keitha Whitaker lights a candle for all the healthcare workers and support staff who continue to provide care in the midst of this ongoing pandemic. And we know we certainly are holding all of those folks. I would add to that for all of our teachers as well, that we continue to hold a candle for those educators who are working in some very difficult situations. And Mark added a celebration for his minister there, I'm guessing, for a celebration of the University of Georgia National Championship. And many of y'all know that for me, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan and a big Atlanta Braves fan. So it's been quite a year of celebrating. And I'm pleased to report at this time, as we were planning to light a candle in support of the members of the Jewish synagogue in Colleyville, Texas, that were held hostage for nearly 12 hours, right in the midst of their Sabbath morning bar mitzvah. We are proud and glad and relieved to say that those hostages were released just late into the evening last night. And we continue to hold the Jewish community in our thoughts and prayers. I've reached out to Jewish leaders in the Columbia area on behalf of the UUCC to let them know that we are thinking about them and holding them close in our heart and offering our support. And then it's with deep sadness that we light a candle in memory of Nick Four, whose battle with acute myeloid leukemia was supported by our congregation with love and care over the past year, especially during this time of Candles of Community, as Bruce would share and ask for our support. Thoughts and positive energy are directed to Bruce at this time of his loss and the loss of the family. I've talked to Bruce a couple of times yesterday to offer our support. There is going to be a memorial service for Nick on Wednesday afternoon that I believe is, we'll get the details out to you. I don't know the limitations of who will be able to attend, but Bruce has also shared with me that he would like to have a service at the UUCC when we're able to get back together in person. And of course, for all those who are in need, and especially during this time of kind of crisis around us, many people who have power outages, dealing with different heating issues, please let the caring committee know and let them be able to provide that support. You can email Cheryl at caringchair@uucolumbia.org. This time I invite us into a time of silent meditation to take some deep breaths and pour our love and energy to those who need our support this morning. Thank you. Also remind you that this month's Share the Plate recipient is the Minister's Discretionary Fund, which gives me an opportunity to work alongside the Caring Committee and meeting the needs of so many in our congregation, but also in our community around us. So thank you for your support. We've been able to give out several donations over this past year, several thousands of dollars to people who are in need, both in our congregation and our community. And we look forward to continuing that good support, and that support is made possible by you. And so every penny that you give toward that fund goes directly to meet the needs of those who need it most.
Our offertory selection is the beautiful spiritual Shine on Me, led by Melanie DeMore. I invite you to listen as she sings this piece or join her in singing.
Hello, UU family. I'm going to sing a song with you called Shine on Me. It's an amazing spiritual that anybody can sing. And in these days when the things that we're dealing with, the feeling separate and all of that, and things seem so hard, this is one of those songs that you just throw your head back, put it in your medicine kit. All you have to do is ask. And here's how it goes. Shine on me, oh shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Lift me up, oh, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, lift me up, yes, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, hold me close, yes, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse hold me close. Yes, hold me close. So hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse, please, hold me close. Oh, shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. All you have to do is just ask. The light is always there. Always. Always. Love you.
Oh, hope you took some deep breaths during that musical selection. I know that I did, and just breathed in the calmness and the love and the energy that she led us to. Do my best.
Recording in progress.
I'll do my best over the next few minutes not to mess that up, that tone that has been set. I did have a meeting this week with some colleagues who were in various places. Chicago was one of the locations. Kalamazoo, Michigan was another one of the locations where they were all on a Zoom call. And they were all doing some complaining about the weather and January blues. And I wasn't trying to be not a great colleague. I just said, actually, January is one of my favorite times of year. And of course they said, well, you have tremendous weather there in Columbia, South Carolina. And I did say, yes, you're right. That is one of the perks of living in Columbia, South Carolina, is our Januaries still provide beautiful weather. So I just want you to take a minute during our Zoom call this morning. If you're able to look outside, if you want to, you can walk outside and just enjoy one of the perks of living in Columbia, South Carolina. Glenn and Ann, who are in Asheville, I believe, I would encourage you probably not to walk outside and enjoy the perks of being in Columbia, South Carolina. But really the weather, despite the weather, January continues to be one of my favorite months of the year, just simply because of some of the focus that we have in our congregation. Of course, the Interfaith Partners of South Carolina commit January to being Interfaith Harmony Month, so it gives us an opportunity to connect to those who are of different faith traditions and representing different forms of spirituality all across the state of South Carolina, and be in community together. Gives us an opportunity, as we know that one of our communities is hurting and experiencing the pain of watching the synagogue being taken over yesterday. Gives us an opportunity to reach out and connect in an interfaith way of harmony, of providing that support and love to each other, despite no matter what our faith traditions and beliefs that might not necessarily completely line up. We do center around this theme of love and harmony and the ability to talk, the ability of being community together. And then, of course, as we are focusing on interfaith harmony, as Martin Luther King Jr. weekend rolls around, we began an activity of 30 Days of Love, an opportunity for us to focus ourselves on what we believe is our primary foundation as Unitarian Universalists, that we side with love, that love is the doctrine of our congregation, that we truly believe that love has the most ability of all the things that we can do. Love has the ability to transform our world around us, for we know it has transformed us. So it gives us a chance to show love to each other, show love to ourselves, show love in a community together and be in a community together at the UUCC, but also look outside our doors and see issues that need attention, issues that require love to act. And certainly love is something that we can sit and talk about, and we can talk about in theory, philosophically, how beautiful love is, but ultimately love has to call you to do something, has to call you to act, has to call you to involve yourselves in places that need love in our community, places that require attention, places that need justice and support. And so that is our work at the UUCC during this 30 Days of Love. It's not just to simply say that we are a loving people, but to show that we are a loving people in the way that we involve ourselves in our world. I was reading and listening to some of the preparations from the King Center in Atlanta, and often have great memories of living in Atlanta and being able to go over to the King Center on Auburn Avenue and enjoy the beautiful services, but also not just at Ebenezer, but also the events at the King Center on King Day. I have a great memory of being on call at Atlanta Medical Center as a chaplain there, and deciding I'll just go over to Ebenezer for the service, because Sundays aren't that busy as a hospital chaplain. It's a pretty quiet day and I can sit through the service. And of course, wouldn't you know it, right in the middle of the service, the pager goes off. And if you've ever been at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, you know the church was built so that sound could really reverberate in that space. And I will tell you that it did that particular day. But I've been reading and keeping up with some of the communication from the King Center and listening to how they are committing themselves to the holiday. And maybe you know that the daughter of Dr. King and Coretta is now the CEO of the King Center. And so I wanted to share some of her words that line up with the image of beloved community and the commitment of the King Center over the next week, and the ways that they are going to involve themselves engaging the work of love and beloved community around us. So I'm going to share the screen and show you just quickly, maybe. Give me just a second. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see a white screen. That sound right? All right, thank you. So you can see the words of Dr. Bernice King, the daughter of Martin and Coretta, who shares some beautiful words of commitment and our work in the UUCC, and of course the work of the King Center. And she says, now more than ever, it is critical that we commit ourselves to the understanding of the beloved community and heighten our individual and collective efforts to make it a reality. Many consider the beloved community to be unachievable because of the misnomer that it's a utopia. However, the beloved community is not a perfect place. It is a place where imperfections don't spiral downward to become injustices, gross humanity, genocide, and the perpetual devastation of what my father called the triple evils of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism. As my mother stated, in the beloved community, caring and compassion drive political policies that support the worldwide elimination of poverty and hunger and all of the forms of bigotry and violence. In her memoir, Coretta, My Life, Love, Legacy, she also wrote that the beloved community is fueled by unconditional love, feels like family, transcends race, religion, and class. In addition to learning more about these quotes, which we must learn about what the beloved community encompasses, as well as grasp what is required for us to get there together. Beautiful words that she writes. What is required for us to get there together? And then she goes on in her speech to talk about some shifts that need to be made. And she says, I reiterate that we must shift. Human beings simply cannot holistically afford to continue a collective trajectory of self-centeredness and of being more thing-centered than people-centered. We must shift our thinking and our perspectives in recognition of our interconnectedness and interdependence. We must shift power and resources to eradicate racism, inequity, and poverty. And certainly I know that we all agree with the work that is ahead of us. So it is in this Sunday that we commit ourselves to 30 days of love. It's a chance for us to engage the work each week. And the UUA provides a beautiful format for us in 30 Days of Love. And I would just like to share some of those themes that are coming up over the next weeks for us. This 30 Days of Love that stretches from January 17th to February 14th, the themes of act, listen, watch, read, and worship. So opportunities for us to listen, to learn, to watch, to engage each other, to focus ourselves in our spirituality, but also to involve ourselves in act. In week one, the theme is going to be reproductive gender and LGBTQIA justice, a chance for us to reach out to a population that in recent times have been on the assault or have been assaulted in many ways through legislation, through various forms of injustice. This is an opportunity for us to learn about issues that are surrounding reproductive rights, gender issues, and the LGBTQIA community. There's some wonderful songs there, and Anna and I were talking yesterday, and hopefully we have a chance to involve the gender song from the website at some point into our worship service. But you can go on and read and experience some of these acts. If you see the website below, www.sidewithlove.org, 30 Days of Love 2022. These are some of the events coming up this next week, things that you can read, things that you can watch, ways that you can involve yourselves and act, things that you can listen to, ways that you can center yourself in your spirituality each day, and also education, ways to involve ourselves politically. The next week is democracy and voting rights, and we certainly know that we are still waiting for Congress to take on the task of the Voting Rights Act and get that in the form of, move it from the form of conversation to actual legislation. And so the theme for the week of the 24th through the 30th is democracy and voting rights. If you go to the website, you can see some of the wonderful opportunities to read. The Granddaddy's Turn from Michael Bandy and Eric Stein. A great video I encourage you to watch on the history of voting rights and really inform yourself on what it is we are fighting for in acts of justice. Some opportunities to involve yourself as a poll worker, as a phone bank worker, to listen to various podcasts, or once again, involve yourselves in reading and reflection in your own spirituality. There's a webinar also that would require registration if you'd like to attend that. Week 3 is January 31st through February 6th, focuses on decriminalization and racial justice. And we certainly know that the prison system and the criminal system is slanted toward a racial injustice. And this gives us an opportunity to learn and watch and engage ourselves around that. Some of the activities you can see on the website that you can involve yourselves in for this week as well. And then the last theme is climate justice, and gives us a focus in this last week of love to think about how love actually informs our acting and our informing ourselves and the work that we do, whether it's large work that we do at various events or daily work that we do on an everyday basis to be involved in the work of justice and love for our climate. There's some events coming up. Some of them are still to be determined. There's a great little sing-along there for families with children, Kids for Saving the Earth Promise song. So I invite you to involve yourself in some of these events as we look forward to 30 Days of Love and celebrating the life of Dr. King, the life and work of his family and the legacy of the King Center, the life and work of the UUA, the UUCC, and all that we commit ourselves to do as Unitarian Universalists. This is a chance for us to side with love and put it into action, to act, to listen, to watch, to read, to worship. We wonder about our future, and the wonderful quote by Adrienne Marie Brown says, "How do I make a future of justice an irresistible option?" How can we do that as a community together? Make justice an irresistible option. I invite you to join me, to join the UUCC, join all of our Unitarian Universalist friends, to join the ACT of the King Center in this 30 days of love and the work of the beloved community. I'm going to hand it over to Anna, who has our closing hymn. It's going to be led by Janice. Anna?
I invite you to join in singing our closing hymn, I Know I Can, with words by Dennis Hamilton and the music by Jeannie Gagne and arranged by Mark Freund. You can sing along with Janice Klein. Words will be on screen.
Recording stopped.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. When sorrow heals my soul and burdens make me strong, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. My sister in my heart, my brother in my song, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination is near, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Janice. Beautiful music. Our closing words today come from W.B. Du Bois, and let us reason together. We must not seek reform by violence. We must not seek vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Or to put it otherwise, only infinite justice and knowledge can assign blame in this poor world. And we ourselves are sinful men struggling desperately with our own crime and ignorance. We must defend ourselves, our homes, our wives, and children against the lawless without stint or hesitation, but we must carefully and scrupulously avoid our own part, bitter and justifiable aggression against anybody. If the United States is to be a land of law, we would live humbly and peaceably in it, working, singing, learning, and dreaming to make it ourselves nobler and better. If it is to be a land of mobs and lynchers, then we might as well die today as tomorrow. And how can man die better than facing fearful odds for the ashes of his fathers and the temple of his gods?
And we're going to extinguish the chalice to signal the end of the service. I don't have the words, so I'm going to say something. I remind people to stay safe. There's a pandemic going on out there. It's it's spreading quickly, so try to stay safe. Try to keep in mind what we learned today from our service. Being respectful to others and being aware of the wrongs that have happened in the past is very important to make sure we don't make them in the future. I also want to remind you to stay in tune, check with the Unigram and the e-blast, what's going on with our services, because they'll be, virtually for a few weeks. And remind you to come back next week, and that after service we'll have breakout rooms for people to get together and chat. So let's go all be in peace. And I'm going to pass it on to Anne after extinguishing the chalice, so we can sing the congregational benediction together.
I invite you to join in singing our congregational benediction, lovingly and beautifully led by mother and daughter, Brandy and Morgan.
May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
That was just awesome. You have been surrounded by images of love today. And so hopefully that has been enough to warm your heart, despite the cold weather that we are all experiencing outside. I invite you to stay safe, not only weather, but also in a growing surge from this pandemic, to stay safe, to know that your commitment to taking care of vaccinations, to putting on a mask, are all acts of love in the greater community, to maintaining isolation and doing our part. Over the next few weeks, we have some services. We continue our Interfaith Harmony celebration with Dr. Adrian Bird, who is the former president of the Interfaith Partners of South Carolina. Pippin Whitaker will bring us a focus on justice in the January 30th. We'll also gather for February 6th online for a service as we continue our themes of love and justice. And then we'll end in the culmination of this 30 days of love with a heart communion, which will also be a virtual service and give you ways that you can celebrate the heart communion online.